Hi and welcome to Tabletop Gaming. My name is Charlie and today we're taking a look at Solution. Now this is a game of climate change, of action and of hope. So I'm super excited to take a look at what's inside, what's beneath this cellophane and what we're going to do. So let's just have a quick first look, see what's inside and give you an idea because this is heading to Kickstarter soon. So Solutions has been described as a game of hope and action for the climate because basically it's a race against time to fight climate change. The interesting thing about this though is whilst you're trying to deploy various climate change solutions and argue with your teammates as to which of those is correct, these are all based on solutions given by Project Drawdown. Now if you're not familiar with Project Drawdown, it is one of the world's leading resources on climate solutions. So what you have to consider is not only are you going to be able to bring that temperature down within the game, you're going to be learning about those solutions too, almost by accident. Now, just one thing to make clear is this is a pre-Kickstarter copy, so there is a chance there may be some changes by the time it reaches your table, some colour differences or something along those lines. I'm sure you're aware that they're slightly different before they come that way, and you may even get things like reduced inserts, for example. Just as a quick interlude from future me, who got to the bottom of the box and found some of the information about the changes that are taking place, they are going to be using less plastic. They may change the back of the box, and there's also maybe going to be a choice on the rulebook. So at the moment, the rulebook is available by scanning a QR code, which saves on additional printing. However, if that's a contentious issue, it might be that gets printed later on. I would love to hear your thoughts on this as to whether you're okay with having it as a digital version or whether you prefer the physical rulebooks. Let me know in the comments because I'd love to hear your thoughts. But those are the changes that they've highlighted straight away, so just to consider. Anyway, as you were. Regardless, inside we have everything we need. So we have a ton of cards that give us all these different options and ways to save the planet. We've got a couple of tokens and some extra info. So there's turn summary, there's muzzled scientist, no one may speak in this turn. How interesting, just sort of spice things up a little bit. And then the all-important game board itself. So the aim of the game, of course, is to bring down the temperature to make it safe for all of us in a way that one hopes that we do with our actual planet, but it seems that we don't. Regardless, we're going to have this lovely version here. Now there is a longer mode and a shorter mode, which I mentioned. So the back here gives us that shorter mode. And we have things like look with catastrophe limit, and we have targets to consider too. Now I mentioned this is a cooperative game. The things that you're going to be doing, you're going to need to discuss with your teammates. So you're going to need to work out what action you'd like to take. That, when I mentioned, for example, one of the cards, for example, is going to stop you from speaking, that's going to make things a touch more difficult. Then we also have a large stack of cards. Now these are going to give us the options that we have and the method in which we're going to save the planet. And I'll be honest, there's a whole lot of options here. I don't think I could list, I think if I sat down and tried to list them, I'd have great difficulty. But there's all sorts, and really, really nicely, they all come with the QR code included. So if we say, for example, we've got this card, which gives us managed grazing. It tells us a little bit about how it works and why that's efficient. And on the back, we then also have a QR code and how much CO2 it's going to reduce it by and the information that it does. Now that QR code will take us to actual research. So we don't have to just play the game and pick up on something short. We can go, that's really interesting. Why is that the case? Why has that happened? Or I don't understand that and I want to read more about it. Or that's just really interesting. So things like, as we go through, we've got microbial farming, we've got net zero buildings, we've got tree plantations on degraded land, we've got micro wind turbines, farmland restoration, marine permaculture, building retrofitting, all of these things where I think if you asked me, I wouldn't necessarily be able to list. If you told me to do it, I could do a couple. I definitely couldn't do as many as there are here. And they make it really interesting. So marine permaculture, for example, oceans absorb 90% of the heat from global warming, creating ocean deserts and shutting down ocean circulation. Kelp forests can restore these ecosystems and sequester gigatons of carbon. Wave-powered pumps can mimic ocean circulation, supplying the kelp with nutrients. So that's really interesting. And one of those where, like, personally, I knew there were ways that we could do this, but I didn't know the specifics. And if I want to read more, I can, of course, head to that QR code. There is, of course, a second pack. So these have been packaged separately, presumably will make up a similar pile that give us more. So reduced food waste, we've got indigenous forest tenure, we've got concentrated solar power, and a multi-strata agroforestry. That sounds very impressive. Should we have a look at what the QR code on that one is? So this one is going to explain. Let's have a look at the back. Farming techniques that mimics mixing taller trees with shorter perennial crops. It can sequester carbon at a similar rate as a forest restoration whilst also producing food. Okay, cool. Let's have a look at that multi-strata agroforestry in terms of the QR code. So I want to know more about it. We can see that we have options. So we have the learn more, we can take action, we've got a little bit of information about the thing itself. Let's have a look at learn more and see what it will tell us. So this brings us straight away to Project Drawdown, which I mentioned as being one of the leading research resources available against global warming. And it gives us, look, how much gigatons, how much billion to implement the solution summary. So by mimicking forests, it can prevent erosion and flooding, recharge groundwater, restore degraded lands and soils, support biodiversity, absorb and store carbon, and all sorts. And we've also got the technical summary that we can do. But if we take a look perhaps at take action, let's see what that does. That brings us to the game. So I guess what I'm saying is that you're going to play a fun game. You're going to bring the temperatures down. You're going to be discussing how you do it. You've got to play the right cards. You've got to do them at the right time. You've got to make sure that what you're playing is optimal, but there are going to be things that stop you in those sort of more complicated cards. As you play through though, you're going to end up discussing things. You're going to go, is this better than this? Why is this more beneficial than that? And you're going to be picking up by accident great solutions to climate change. This is a really interesting way of making a board game that educates, but without the education being overtaking the board games. So having played games like this before, where it's tried to have a theme of something that's people forward, and those sometimes overlap. There is a board game second. It's just all about you picking up new information. This is both. This gives you the face value information, this gives you the deeper information, but it gives you an actual game that you're going to be playing and learning at the same time, rather than being forced to learn before you play. I hope that distinction makes sense, but it is a game first and foremost, which is also why it's heading to Kickstarter, so you can totally check this out. The artwork for the box is quite pleasing. You are able to play this online, so I believe it's on Tabletopia, and you can check it out there. Kickstarter is coming soon, so whilst there's not much more I can show you in terms of what stuff is in it, because it's a lovely little box, you can pick up your own copy and take a look at that yourself by heading over to that Kickstarter, and I will pop a link in the description for you to do that. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, you can find more from us at Tabletop Gaming at tabletopgaming.co.uk, or also by liking and subscribing. The like is for me, I'm not going to lie, but the subscription is so that you can see anything in future that we pop forward to. If you enjoy this game, be sure to let us know in the comments. Let us know your thoughts on the rulebook. Let us know your thoughts on how you fix climate change. If there are particular things that you're going to be looking out for within these cards or particular stories you have to tell, I would love to hear them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day and see you soon.